right. Hello, everybody. This is Dawna De Silva, and this is my sixth interview, I believe. I'm grateful to have this amazing person back on. It's the Sozo Queen. Hello, Donna.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate you making the time for this interview. We did have an interview last week, but because of technicalities, didn't work out. So thanks for doing another interview.
You're welcome. It's probably my ADHD in me. I couldn't stop playing with the pen.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm not like a sound expert either, but I'm learning. But yeah, anyway, thanks so much for meeting. And apologies to everyone if the audio is a little wonky today. I actually had to call her on her cell phone, so might not be as good as it's been, but hey, we'll make it work. So anyway, thanks for joining. Yes, how are you doing today?
Yeah, we're doing good. It is interesting that we're having such technical difficulties. It's almost like we're having a resistance about getting this message out, huh?
I know, it must be a good interview because, yeah, I've never had this much trouble with an interview for sure. But yeah, keep pushing forward. So we kind of went over who you are last time, so we'll just kind of jump right into it. I wanted to do this interview because my mom, she's my mom, super lucky. She just released a video series basically on her shifting atmospheres curriculum, a little bit of her overcoming fear thrown in there. And the idea is, how do we shift from a place of fear to peace? And yeah, I just wanted to get her on to talk about it a little bit. So, Mom, can you just tell us a little bit about your new video series and what it teaches?
Yeah, so when COVID hit, probably, wow, now about 5 weeks ago, right before shut in, Destiny, my publisher, one of my two publishers, called me and said, "Hey, could you put together a series, like a mini series on shifting atmospheres from fear either to faith or peace, however we wanted to add that." And I kind of did both of those in one. So it's I think it's a series of four short 12 to 20-minute teachings about fear and what we do with it and how to know if it's your fear or the outside fear. And then from there, obviously I've already had a Shifting Atmospheres series, but this is specifically for the season that we're in right now and how this is affecting us.
Yeah, so this is basically a very focused version of shifting atmospheres. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, what are you like? What's the main? I guess what are some of the things you're teaching? Obviously, get rid of fear. But are there any specific hints you can give us? Kind of what's in the content?
Yeah, that's really a good question because what we found is I took my Overcoming Fear book, which is actually from Chosen, and put it together with the Shifting Atmospheres because what I find is a lot of people don't really understand how to tell if there's fear in their life. I mean, and especially if you're a Christian, you're taught to not be afraid. And so many times there's a sense of, oh, I don't have fear, I'm a Christian. And yet we have what I call tells, or we have these situations in our lives which kind of show us that we do have fear. And so my whole first part of the teaching is, what is fear? As in, how does it come up in your life? And how do you know if you're dealing with fear or if you're dealing with something else?
So, for instance, if someone reacts out of anger for some reason, that can still be fear because you're afraid that, oh, like, I didn't have enough food stored up for COVID, and so maybe you lash out at a grocery store clerk or,
Yeah,
whatever. So you're saying that, hey, fear can look like a lot of different things, but if you really dig down, you realize, oh, wow, I'm afraid of not being in control. I'm afraid of not being taken care of, and so that can actually manifest in different ways.
absolutely. And for me, I mean, you would know this growing up with me, that I don't like to feel powerless. And so feeling powerless to me is I don't have a choice, or I'm being cornered into somebody else's solution. And I have found that somehow, somewhere in my life, I learned that anger tipped the scale for me. That if I would puff up bigger, look bigger, act bigger, I actually had people would back down. And so I really grew up using rage as a protection against fear in my life. You could even say control. People use all kinds. Some people just kind of go away. They just hide. So it's the fight or flight. I'm more of the fight. Other people I know are more of the, I'm the fight, and other people are more of the flight. But both of those actually because of fear. And so the first whole session I do is, okay, let's look at some of our responses that show us that we are afraid. And I think a lot of people will find themselves thinking, oh, I thought I was struggling with the spirit of anger, when really that was trying to protect me against fear.
So, for example, if I'm feeling like, man, I'm cranky all the time, or like I'm just not in a good mood lately, that's interesting to me. That can actually be control. I know I definitely love to be in control of my life, and when I don't feel in control, that can, obviously make me act out in different ways. So, but your argument, since you're combining overcoming fear a little bit, your argument, I believe, is, hey, like, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of, I don't want to give everything away, but, but power, love, and a sound mind. And if you actually have these three ingredients in your recipe in your life, then you won't be afraid, because you'll be powerful, you'll have your discernment on, and you'll also just be in God's love.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what I do in the first session, and I'm actually in my kitchen with the props to show that and explain it for the first time, and it's very powerful to see it from a place of, oh, I get it from a visual place. That actually comes from a teaching I did called Recipe for a Fear-Free Life, and that's where the book came from, Overcoming Fear. So, yeah, that's the first thing we do. And then from there, I go into, okay, so is it your fear, or is it the fear from outside of you? Because there is fear that can be internal, and there's fear that is external. And to discern it and shift the atmospheres, well, number one, you have to know, is it you, or is it, the broadcast around you? And number two, we need to know, if it is me, what do I do about it? Or if it is the broadcast, what do I do about it? So I spend the next 3 sessions going over those situations.
So maybe, what's just a quick example of an internal fear versus an external fear?
Yeah, well, an internal fear is basically like, I live in this place of I'm afraid, or I live in this place of lack, or I live in this mindset of it'll never be good enough. And let's just take this example. We're kind of all sequestered away, and if you actually have a mindset of I'm not good enough, you're struggling more than most people in this season, because you're sequestered and you're stuck with just you, and trying to figure out, nobody loves me, no one's calling me, no one's getting around me, and actually they can't. External broadcasts are broadcasts that are talking to you that aren't your normal mindsets, or aren't your normal thought processes. And so really starting out is, what do you really believe about yourself and about God and about others is the basis to understand, am I fighting a broadcast, or am I fighting my own belief system?
Interesting. Okay, so internal fear is your own problem, and then external fear is you're picking it up from something outside, like the spiritual realm or another person. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
cool.
And and we can have a perfect storm where the external agrees with my internal.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it even harder, because in my external situations going on around me actually empowers the internal belief system I carry, and that can affect us like a double hit.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, like, okay, here's an example I'm sure a lot of people can identify with, like what you're saying. Like, let's say a young man, because let's just be honest, guys are super frisky all the time. But let's say a young guy struggles with maybe shame or guilt, condemnation internally, and then maybe he walks into an atmosphere that's super sexualized, and then maybe that he's not able to overcome it. Maybe he looks at porn or lusts after someone, whatever, and then his internal thing comes up like, oh, I'm worthless, I'm such a scumbag, I did it again.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, cool, great.
That is true. So many times the external agrees with our internal voice, and when that happens, we actually can't discern easily that it's not us.
Yeah, so that's a really good point you're bringing up. So, look, for my own life, I personally don't struggle with pornography. I don't struggle with addiction in that area. So when I am going through my life and I feel like a sudden urge or whatever to look at pornography or to get my needs met sexually in an unhealthy way, then I know that, oh, okay, that is obviously something's going on in the atmosphere. Or to be fair, because I did used to struggle with that stuff, maybe there is like a tiny sliver of an old wound or issue that somehow got poked or prodded. So that's interesting for me, what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's determining if it's you or the atmosphere or the broadcast out there. It's two different battles depending on what you determine.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Well, I don't want to give it all away because I want people to watch your stuff, but definitely everyone check that out. I believe it's on the Destiny Image TV website. It's like a streaming service they have. You can rent it for $19 or buy the episodes for $39. And it's a pretty good deal because I believe your Shifting Atmospheres book, like a PDF version, comes with it.
Yeah, they give the whole PDF of the Shifting Atmospheres book. They were trying to get it out quickly, and it's been out now for, I guess, maybe 3 weeks because of the COVID, that instead of making it into more questions and answers, they just went ahead and used the Shifting Atmospheres book and give you the whole, so like a $17 book that you get to go with it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is a PDF of the book.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I definitely recommend you all to check it out. I mean, any time of life, it's good to learn this stuff, but especially now when there's like, it's like a hornet's nest in the spiritual realm. There's like tons of stuff going on right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely check that out. Yeah, so okay, so that's that. I kind of, while I have you, just have a couple more questions. Something you say a lot in your sermons and your books is that discernment, you talk about discernment a lot, which is awesome. You say something interesting. You say that discernment is one of the least used gifts in the church today. And I was wondering if you could just kind of expound on that statement that you say a lot. Because you seem to be very like, hey, like we need to learn discernment. We need to get good at it. And for whatever reason, Christians seem to be shying away from it. Like it's, oh, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be that, the prophetic person that everyone runs away from. But can you just kind of explain your statement a little bit? I find it very interesting.
Yeah, well, there is discernment and there's discerning of spirits. So there's two different aspects at the same point there. I think for discernment, I think a lot of times people who were discerning weren't being taken serious or were being frustrated, possibly, and started kind of like picking on people. And so it became more of a critical spirit. And I've heard a lot of sermons where people are like, yeah, we just are critical and call it discernment. I'm like, well, okay, yeah, people have done that, but let's not throw out the fact that we need to discern, that we are to discern between good and evil, that we are to find out what is right, what is wrong, and to be able to stand on that. So I have found that people tend to, number one, just believe what they're told and don't do due diligence. For example, this is a different kind of situation, but I love the example is years ago, this man came through church and churches, and he was trying to get investors to invest with him. And people were giving him large sums of money because he had this great idea about how he was going to help the poor and blah, blah, blah with the money that came back. And then people lost all kinds of money. And Dad went online and he called it due diligence. He just looked this guy up online, due diligence, and he said, if you would have just looked online, you would have known this guy was a fraud. So the very thing that, due diligence for me is like, okay, rather than just maybe believe everything that I'm told, I'm looking to see, does it bear witness with my spirit? Because the Holy Spirit in me, the Holy Spirit in you, the Holy Spirit in other people, does it bear witness? Because if it bears witness with the Holy Spirit, I'm just going to believe it. But if it doesn't bear witness with the Holy Spirit, I'm going to check it out and say, I wonder if what they're saying is correct, and if it's just I have a wrong lens, or I wonder if maybe they have a wrong perception and they're teaching it wrong, or that's just how I look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's almost like use your brain,
Yeah.
Like Bethel, I've heard at Bethel they say like follow your heart, but take your brain with you, and I love that.
Yeah. Take your brain with you.
Yeah, take your.
I think of it as like a sniff test, like a smelling test, and I'm like, that didn't pass my sniff test. It sounded all right, but something was wrong. It's like something's wrong there. And if I'm not settled in my spirit, then I'm going to be asking God, am I believing something wrong that's skewing how I'm receiving this, or are they actually giving me wrong information?
Yeah. So if you what happens when you are the problem? So let's say you're practicing discernment, or you're just living your life, and you're the problem. What do you do then?
Yeah, well, there's two themes attached to that, and that actually I'm teaching in my new book that's coming out in September, Warring with Wisdom. And I talk about, the difference between a flesh wound and a soul wound. And I got that phrase from Marilyn Hickey. I thought that was awesome. Years ago, she wrote a book called Devils, Demons, and Deliverance. And I love the fact that, I was trying, all these years I've been trying to figure out why is it different in different situations? And I didn't have the right distinction to it until I read her phrase that, there's flesh wounds and soul wounds. And the distinction that's made is a flesh wound is, you can tell it's a flesh wound by what you want. I want to do this. I want to do this. And it's a soul wound by how you react to what someone says to you or an event that happens to you. And so if it's a flesh wound, sometimes you just have to not, stop it. You just have to deny the flesh and stand when you've done all to stand. If it's a soul wound, just standing is not going to be enough, because you are almost having a knee-jerk, we call it, reaction to what someone else says. And you have to actually heal the lie inside of you where the soul wound is attached in order to not have a wrong reaction when someone talks to you.
Yeah, I really like that. And I've read her book as well, and it's incredible. It's super good. But you can't get it anywhere. It's like, yeah, impossible. I got like one of the last copies on the internet. But I love it, and that you talk about it in your book, Warring with Wisdom. And just going back to the pornography example, like, so if it's a flesh issue, if I'm just wanting it, like, oh, I need to do this, I need to look at it, I need to do this, then, it's like, okay, dude, you gotta like take ownership. You gotta like stop this thing. But if it's a soul wound issue, I'm going through my day and like, yeah, I don't look at that stuff anymore. I'm super pure. I'm awesome. And then someone says, wow, Corey, like, you're looking kind of chubby lately. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, feeling bad. And then out of comfort, which I do, like, I went from pornography to food. I just go to food now.
Yeah.
But if it's comfort, I used to go to stuff like that. So that's a cool distinction to just be aware of, like, when you're struggling with something, or if you find yourself repeatedly doing something, it's like, oh, is this like a flesh issue? Do I just need to like man up or woman up and get over this? Or do I need to, actually do some digging with the Holy Spirit and find what's prompting me to act out in an unhealthy way?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's actually brilliant. When I heard her phrase, I was like, oh, that's brilliant. That's exactly what I've been trying to understand and not have words for. And I couldn't have said it a better way. So I just quote her in my book on that phrase, and just say this is why we're fighting different battles.
Yeah, which we'll have to do another interview and get into that, because that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, I guess one more question. I know you're busy. I really like, because we were talking about discernment, I really like your story about Don Potter when he came over. And this is a true story. Mom and Dad had this musician and worship leader, Don Potter, come over. I may have been there or not. I was a little kid, who knows. But anyway, the story is Mom had been clearing up the atmosphere in Reading with her Sozo team. And so to get rid of, the spirit of control, the Jezebel, or whatever spirits, So Mom is like, yeah, I'm cleaning the place up. And so Don Potter, who's super discerning, comes over. And then Mom asks Don, like, oh man, what do you discern over Reading? Isn't it like so much better now? And Don Potter goes, oh, Donna, the controlling spirit is so much worse. And then,
it's a true story.
Yeah, so can you just, I don't know, tell that story a little bit? I love it. I love whenever I read it.
Yeah, because, it was interesting to me. We had been going after the controlling spirit, the Jezebel spirit, all of the aggressive controlling spirits out there. And I thought, we'd done a great job, that we cleared up the atmosphere. But he said, oh, it's worse than ever. And I stood there just dumbfounded. And then I said, I don't understand why. And I told him what we've been doing. He goes, oh, so that's because you don't understand, Donna, how controlling a victim spirit is. And then he went through a story, which is a great analogy. And he said, it's like this. He said, it's like you hear this scratching at your door, and you open the door, and this muddy dog, mangy, muddy dog, walks into your room before you can, react, and crawls up on your brand new white couch. And, that's a great visual, because here's this muddy, mangy dog on my couch. He says, and you need to get the dog off your couch, but every time you go forward to get the dog off the couch, the dog's like whimpers, like you're going to hurt me. And I just thought, oh my heavens, that is so true. That the victim spirit we partner with it sometimes totally unaware. And then other times we continue to partner with it because it is a very controlling spirit. Because if I am a victim and I'm partnering with that spirit, for you to try and help me, I have an out to taking your advice because you're hurting me to take your advice, or you're hurting me to get healed. It's very powerful.
Yeah, I think that story just blows my mind. And it's just fascinating how we can focus in on one thing and then completely miss something else. So it's helpful to have, people in our lives that can maybe catch the things we've missed, because for whatever reason, we're not perfect, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that story, and I love reading it. But yeah, I guess that's it for today. I gotta get back to work, and you gotta do Sozo stuff. So appreciate you for rescheduling this. I hope you and Daddy are staying safe.
Yep. We're doing everything we can to lean into God and find out what He's doing in this season. So I just bless the audience. I bless I was going to say readers, but this would actually be viewers or listeners. And, I just want us to get free of fear, into faith and peace, and come out the other side a better version of who we went in this season with.
Oh, amen.
Amen. Love you.
All right. Thank you so much. I will, we'll have to do another one sometime in the future.
Yeah, when my other book comes out.
Yeah, that's right. You got stuff coming out like crazy. Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
All righty. So that concludes my interview with my mom. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Hope you learned some cool stuff. I was super distracted this interview for whatever reason. So I think just because it's so hot in this closet, it's like I'm sitting in a giant sauna, but still fully dressed. So I think maybe because of the heat, I was a little out of it this interview. So I apologize if it was a little scatterbrained. I was doing my best, and for whatever reason, this was a hard interview to get going. A lot of resistance, which usually that means you know, well, it could mean God's like, never mind. I'm just too many rabbit trails. I will just say that I'm very honored that my mom was willing to meet with me again, and thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. Please spread the word. Please share this. I just want everyone to get as free as possible and to just really get healed, especially in this time where we have some more time. And thankfully, the economy is starting to open up again, so hopefully less of us will be stuck at home. I'm sure we are all so not sick of each other, right? No. I'm sure some parents out there are hoping school will come back at some point. So anyway, thank you all so much for listening. Hope you learned a lot. Please check out my mom's new video series. I'll post a link in the description below so you can check it out. And yeah, I'll just keep doing these interviews. I'm going to try to interview a writer I really admire. He's not a believer, but I really have a soft spot in my heart for him. He's a really cool guy. He was actually well, I don't want to give too much away in case he says no, so he might say no. But I would love to interview him. He's not a believer, but I really respect him. His new book just came out, and I would really love to just kind of get his thoughts on writing and just his process, because I really respect him as a writer. And I'm having a blast interviewing believers because I feel like it's important. I want to strengthen the church. I want to strengthen believers. I want to give us practical tools. But I also want to interview maybe people outside of the church that inspire me, that I like, that are doing stuff that I think is cool. So anyway, if I'm able to, I'll interview him. If not, then I'll find someone else. So anyway, I hope you're all doing great. Please stay safe. Please stay smart. And as your economies open back up, I just pray that you guys all stay safe, that you get back to a semi-normal existence. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. You guys take care.